When a hobby becomes a communal activity, something shared with a wide audience, group of friends online, the pressure and expectation to always stay on top of the new hotness is big. This creates friction, tension, conflict when you aren't interested in or excited for the new thing. Or maybe you just don't have the spoons to really figure it out, stay in touch. If you're too busy, it creates FOMO, the fear of missing out. But the often unspoken truth is you don't have to buy new games. Ever. Personally, between my Steam, GOG, and physical libraries I have now, I could stop buying games now, today, and always have something to play, possibly for the rest of my life. But I still get excited for new games and want to try them. Plus, not all games are made equally. Some games you only play once. Some games you play over and over. Some games you just have to be in the right mood for. And some games you put down and you don't really ever plan on finishing. Sometimes you find games that you really love and they just do it for you. And that's all you need. It is often seen as weird, or the people are made to seem as a lesser gamer somehow if they're just playing the same set of games that really clicks for them. But it's no different than those 3 buds you have who only play 1 or 2 multiplayer games and just try a new single player every once in a blue moon. It's the same thing. My wife is one of those people. They've played tons of games in their life and really introduced me to certain franchises. But month to month, day to day, there's only really a handful of games that they regularly play themselves. For my wife, it's The Sims, Guild Wars 1 and 2, Dragon Age, and Mass Effect, and for a while we had Team Fortress 2 or Overwatch as a multiplayer thing we played together. They still play new games with me and with our kiddo. We've been playing through Paper Mario the Origami King lately as a family, and then my wife and I have been playing through all sorts of games together. Everyone, when we have time. They mainly stick to what they love during their, direct, for sure, fun time. My wife's the kind of person that would do spreadsheets of playthroughs for Mass Effect or Dragon Age or whatever, and I love that. I used to do that in high school all the time when I had time to play through multiple games back to back. The difference is my measurement of time that I have to play games is often based in a relative scale of times available to play a game on repeat versus multiple games, whereas my wife just kind of considers whatever game they're going to play reliably to be a game they're going to play consistently for the next 5, 10, 15 years. That's wonderful. Honestly, I truly envy it sometimes. Sometimes I wish I was that kind of gamer. By contrast, I rarely manage to complete any game. Nevertheless, play through it multiple times with different endings and paths and whatever. I start them over and play the first half or so over and over sometimes, but the end credits are a rare thing for me. Until this summer, most of my casual game time was spent on multiplayer FPS games. I've been working on changing that this year. Meanwhile, my wife plays through their favorite games over and over, planning new characters or paths, getting every possible ounce of value out of them. This is more cost-effective, both in the not buying new games often, as new games come under a lot more scrutiny before they may purchase such a game, and in not constantly needing new hardware upgrades to keep up with every new game and hardware advancement. And it's more comfortable. It's more reliable of an experience. We all have our comfort games. It's a safe, familiar place where you can connect with good emotions, assess where you are and what you're feeling, and you always know what to expect, especially if you've played through it. I could play the Gen 2 and 3 Pokemon games, or Halo 3, or old school RuneScape grinding over and over until I die for this very reason. Comfort games offer an incredible value of just allowing you to relax and to be free and to let go of the stress and pressures of daily life, while also not introducing new stress in terms of picking a new game, in terms of buying new games, keeping up with gaming news, in terms of perhaps a more challenging in a way you're not prepared for experience, or the constant mindset shifts you need for multiplayer games. With video games primarily being a leisure, relaxing, hobby kind of thing, a way to spend your time, doing it in a way that degrades your experience doesn't always make sense. There have been plenty of times in my life where all I did was play my comfort games, especially as a kid. Like the amount of times I just replayed Pokemon Gold or Crystal or Pokemon Ruby over and over on my little Game Boy when I was in the car, waiting on stuff at the doctor's office, or even just sitting in bed. Or played through the start of like Hercules or A Bug's Life on PS1, or Medieval on PS1, or Sonic Adventure 2 Battle on GameCube. Those games, they didn't offer anything new inherently, although I did always find something new to appreciate about them, a new path or little unlock to get. But I knew if I sat down, I had limited game time. I was going to have fun every time. I got away from that as I got older, as I got into constantly doing the fast food cycle of multiplayer first-person shooter games, or trying to hop on every new game that I could. These days, I am a lot more critical about what games I pick. I have too many as is, and that is certainly a privilege. I'm able to be more particular about the games I pick up because I already have enough to choose from. But I'd say everyone in the modern era has access to more games than ever before, an unprecedented level of access to just games in general that we didn't always have before. And the intentionality behind what you choose to engage with, what you choose to spend your time with, matters a lot. And there is nothing wrong with just playing games you've already played before. That list of new games is fleeting. You don't need to jump on any particular new game. You don't have to game like me, like my wife, or like anyone else online for that matter. The best place is always somewhere in the middle with whatever works for you. But I do know it is very difficult to truly be happy and content with your gaming time when you're twisting and catering what games you buy and play and how you engage with them to suit others or to suit the projected expectation of others onto yourself. When you are worried about missing out, when you are worried about keeping up, when you're worried about being seen as different for just playing the same thing over and over. Even from a content perspective, which is not the priority for everyone by any stretch, but like some of my favorite content to watch is from people who are experts on their thing because they found what they love and they stick with it. Whether it's a craft that they do, an art form that they've mastered that because they've dedicated their life to it, or as just an example I'm going to throw out here, Tamahiro, used to go by Tamashi Hiroka on YouTube. She covers Pokemon games and has covered Pokemon games almost as long as I have been on YouTube myself. She has covered them her more than half of her entire life at this point. She's played basically all of them, covers them deeply, and finds new ways to dive in on them and provide new perspectives on the older Pokemon games even today, and how she can do completion runs and things like that. That is so much more interesting to me than someone who is just jumping on the latest Pokemon Scarlet or Violet or whatever to cover it and is going to bounce off onto the next thing in 2 weeks. And I think in terms of what you get out of gaming, if something really clicks for you, if something really means a lot to you, it's going to be way more fulfilling and provide more value to your life on the whole if you allow yourself to continue to engage with it rather than just jumping away from it to do the next thing. I'm Addy. This has been Lost Saves. Remember to be kind. Rewind.